MuchMusic special roasting taste day.
Everything that's happened to me has been an extreme. I've been an extremist. People call me an extremist. My close friends say that I'm an extremist.
I try not to be preachy about what I'm saying. That's a real danger, because as soon as you start preaching, then nobody wants to hear you because you're a jerk. I don't think I'm a thorn in the side of the rock and roll industry. I think I'm just another part of it.
Neil's different.
Yeah, sure. Neil Young's pretty cool. I think he's got something to say that's a little out of the mainstream.
It's very nice. It's people-orientated. It's not isolated. It's alive.
I think his songs are very inspiring.
Mostly I like him because he wears a maple leaf patch on his bum on his videos.
I think his music comes first, right? And that's what counts to him. He doesn't care about making money or making videos and stuff like that. It's his music. That's what I think.
We're in Northern California. The reason Neil Young has a brand new double album out. Weld is its name. Well, that's a collection of feedback material. Weld, a live concert release featuring some of the latest cuts by Neil Young and also some timeless classics. The man is inside at one of his favorite restaurants here in the area. This is also his old Plymouth car. Let's go inside and chat with Neil Young. Your birthday next week, by the way. Happy birthday.
No, thanks. Yeah, it's good to be here.
And it's been a nice long road to get to this point.
Yeah, yes.
Joni Mitchell once quoted, you were saying that all you wanted was a hearse and a chicken farm.
Yeah, well, that would have been okay at that time, I think.
Well, she then said it, well, Neil actually maybe have got that. It's just that the hearse is now a collection of antique cars and the chicken farm is a garage.
Yeah, it's kind of embellished itself. Those were good, clean thoughts, though. Hearse and the chicken farm. I must have had those almost. I didn't have the chicken farm. I had a chicken farm when I was about 8 years old or something, you know.
Is this in Winnipeg?
10 years old. No, outside of Toronto, actually, in Pickering.
Almost Reggae Glory, and most particularly this live album, seems a throwback to Rust Never Sleeps, even from the live photo on the front cover. Did you have that purposely in mind?
Well, they're connected. It's the same band, it's later. And the amplifiers look worn out, we look older. It's just a connection, you know, it's a milestone.
A second
You can imagine
snapshot?
what the next one will look like 10 years from now.
And Cinnamon Girl, all these years later, has it changed? Does the song have a new life on it?
Well, I don't know. It's the same as it always was for me. It's like the same thought. The song works for me well now as it did when I wrote it. You know, it's just got the same message, and so it's just now I'm 46 years old and I'm playing it, but the thought is still there. My mom isn't there. So when I sing, Ma, send me money now, I know I'm not going to get it. I don't know if I'm going to find a Cinnamon Girl either. I think I already did. But I'm still singing it, you know. Who knows? The beat's there. People are there.
You've had many images of the First Nations throughout your career. I think of Buffalo, Springfield, Broken Arrow, Crazy Horse, even the songs Cinnamon Girl and Sugar Mountain are evocative of First Nations or even a frontiersman. Mm-hmm. Did you see that? Do you like that?
Yeah, that's part of it. That's part of the pictures that I see. There's a especially, I don't know when, but at some point there was a lot of images came to me from the past. Were very clear and very vivid that I put into songs. Doesn't seem to be happening this decade like that, although maybe it is and I haven't realized it yet. But whatever is happening, at one point a lot of things like that used to come to me. You know, stories of old places and people and scenes that I would see in my mind, and just for no particular reason. So I just try to document and put them to a melody. At all, it's just having a good time.
Just rock and roll, right?
He's probably one of the best guitarists around today. Pioneered country music into a side road of rock. It was really hard to do in the 70s.
I think it's good to see that a popular rock star like him is actually taking a stand against corporations.
It serves them all right. They all deserve it. They earned it.
60s are very relevant right now. There's a revival in Jimi Hendrix. You, in fact, have Star Spangled Banner opening that live show that you had there for Ragged Glory, did you not?
Oh yeah, I did that on. We did that on Rust Never Sleeps too. But Jimi Hendrix, you know, he's a classic. I mean, you can't. You know, he'll be around forever. You know, he's one of my heroes, and my biggest, but definitely my biggest guitar hero there for electric guitar. He knew how to handle it. Feedback is very rich, and it's completely full of sound, especially in its original state before it's captured. But when it's the live thing is really where it's at, when it's first happening. That's when you really hear it.
Do you like the oneness of the rock and roll show? That the fact that if it's a good show, that you're coming together with your crowd?
Oh yeah, that's the whole thing for me. That's the essence of it. That's what rock and roll's all about. Weld, yeah. Get it together, you know, people just coming together.
Ain't singing for Pepsi. Ain't singing for Coke. I don't sing for nobody. Makes me look like a joke. This note's for you.
You've been a thorn in the side of the rock and roll industry, particularly over the last couple of years.
I don't think I'm a thorn in the side of the rock and roll industry. I think I'm just another part of it.
I don't care if I sell any records. I've already sold a lot of records. I've sold a lot of records. What do I sell more records? Fantastic!
It serves them all right. They all deserve it. They earned it. They should have, you know, the Molson's Home for the Homeless instead of all of this crap they're spending on advertising and everything. Everybody drinks the beer anyway. They're all just blowing their own horns. Why don't they spend money on helping people? Yeah. And use it's this great advertising. You know, why don't they build a big building and hire staff and doctors and people like that and all wear Budweiser or Molson stickers on their white outfits and help people? Why don't they do that with their money instead? I'm starting to like that idea. How do you like that, Molson?
I have so many opinions about so many different things and everything that comes out during my music that it's a battle for me I try not to be preachy about what I'm saying. That's a real danger, because as soon as you start preaching, then nobody wants to hear you because you're a jerk, you know. And then you can get there, and I've slipped into that position many times, and it's a danger of doing what I do. I don't want to do that. I just want to be a reflection of what's going on. I let people draw their own conclusions.
Besides Neil's own album these days, Weld, he also appears as backup singer on one track on his friend Robbie Robinson's latest release entitled Storyville. Now, when Robbie enlists talent to help him out in the recording studio, he doesn't just get the talent, he actually casts characters.
I'm casting the different voices to be different characters. So when I think, okay, on this song, the soapbox preacher song that I did, and I'm thinking, what's the sound that just fits right in with this, that would help bring this character to life? And so in this song I did it with Neil Young. And for me, he not only sounded like the character, he looked like the character too. This kind of ragged street corner messiah with some words of wisdom.
Yeah, that's something. That was fun. I remember that. I was just in there for an afternoon. It was different for me because everything was so quiet and so focused, and the overdubbing thing, you know, not really one of my big strengths is being an excellent overdubber. But, you know, I did the best that I could, and I got into it. I know I got into it on the things that he wanted me to.
In those proud shoes, coming on up the alley in those proud shoes, walks all over the sky.
If I was recording Robbie, see, I would go the other way. I would want Robbie live in the studio, playing with all these people that he wants, singing live. All of these people, all these thoughts that he has. That's how I would produce him. But that's another man's view. I mean, he does a great job of what he does. Just like Don Henley does a great job of what he does. He's doing his thing, you know, and that is to make these near perfect, beautiful renditions of these songs, you know, that he loves. So, and he does that with a lot of feeling. It's just not my thing.
I live for playing live. That's what I do. That's what all my records are live since after the gold rush, with the exception of Trans and the vocals on Landing on Water. Everything I've done has been a live thing.
He's Canadian, and I grew up with his music. A lot of influence on me, especially when I was a teenager.
You know, he's influenced a lot of people, and I think that's the most important thing. So it's still relevant, sure.
I worked in Toronto in the 60s, you know, when the Yorkville was just starting to happen. And we had a group called the Minor Birds. And when Neil came with the group, I found Neil in a coffee house. He was like playing acoustic guitar. And when he came with us, I decided I wanted to. I just got up from New York and I saw the Lovin' Spoonful, and I blew my mind. I said, I want to go folk R&B. You know, I had a concept for soul music to be like R&B with acoustic guitars. And I ran into Neil, and he's playing in a coffee house, and I said, wow, that's perfect. He can come, you know.
Rick was, he was great when I was playing with him. I'd like to play with him again sometime, actually.
And the first gig we ever did with him, his first solo, he was like so rambunctious. He was so happy to be playing this music, you know, with this group. And I mean, he was excited about it because it was like a group, you know, it was great. And he hadn't done that. He leaped down and he's soloing away, and we all look back and there's no chord. And he's soloing away, he's going, everybody laughed, it was crazy. And Neil Young and us, we got signed to Motown. Minor Birds were with Motown. So
I hear that there's an album out that may one day be released once it's finished up with a few songs.
Yeah.
How do you think you feel about that now?
The integrity of it to me. See, Neil isn't singing, so he's cool about it. He says, wow, I said, I want that to come out. He said, wouldn't that be great, having that recognized? I said, no, I don't think it would be so great, you know, because that sounds like shit. Me and Neil Young, we used to get together, and we used to talk in those days of poverty and music, and he wanted to be bigger than Dylan. You know, this is what he wanted. He wanted this, and he believed this was going to happen. He wanted to be bigger than Bob Dylan, and I wanted to be. It came to a point I wanted to be bigger than Sly Stone.
He dreamed about being the next Mick Jagger when I knew him.
I've been going up to Canada since 1964, I guess, when I first met Neil. He was coming east from Winnipeg when I was playing. What I was going to do when I got back to New York, which is he had a bass player and a drummer who was singing folk songs with an electric guitar. It was fabulous. So I said, come on down and let's form a group. And I missed him in New York, but he showed up in L.A. and I knew who it was right away.
I think he's managed to keep up with the times.
He means what he says, and he's willing to stand and suffer as a result of it if he has to.
Music is not the only thing on Neil Young's mind these days. For the last 6 years, he and his wife Peggy have got behind the Bridge School in San Francisco. It's a special school that helps out children that suffer from cerebral palsy. For the last 5 years, they've held benefit concerts to raise funds for the school. It's called the Bridge Benefit, and it features well-known artists in an acoustic setting. This year, they had Sonic Youth performing, the first time that Sonic Youth had ever performed acoustically live. Neil Young will tell you what happened. He'd already had a working relationship with the band. He had taken them out on the road for the Ragged Glory tour.
It was pointed out to me by my manager that these people were really good, and I listened and I said, yeah. And then I heard them on the Bridge compilation record that they did, and then so we took them out with us just to see how it would go, you know. And I think they're great. But a lot of the audience, you know, got ticked off, you know, because they're not me, and they're not. Some people like what I do when I do quiet acoustic things, and they come hoping I'm going to do that, and then they're a little disappointed that I'm doing Crazy Horse, and you know, and then when Sonic Youth comes out first and does that to them, then they, you know, these people don't know what to do.
I mean, some people might be bored. It's like, you know, to them it's like a car alarm they can't turn off.
I understand they had a hard time at the Bridge benefit concert recently too.
Yeah, I would say it was a natural disaster. They got through the first song, even though they couldn't hear themselves that well, they were great. I mean, I was standing backstage and I'd just come off Willie Nelson's bus where I spent some time with him, and I was listening to the music and getting off on it, and I thought Sonic Youth was great, but I noticed that they couldn't hear each other. They appeared to not be hearing each other as well as they would like to, which of course is understandable for people who only got the acoustic guitars a couple of days before that and had never played live acoustic. There was no way that they were going to get the feedback that they thought they were going to get. They didn't have the experience to know that what they were hearing was all they were ever going to get out of these things. They played two great songs, and then the third song that they played was a very complex piece. And they couldn't hear each other well enough, and they kind of fell apart at one point. And then they were just so frazzled that they went into being themselves, and which is Sonic Youth, which is where they live, you know. The electric guitars, everything, you know, break it if it doesn't work, you know. The attitude is, you know, like, you know, trash it and start over again, or trash it and do something else, or just, you know, if it's not happening, don't belabor it, just get out of it, you know. So Kim, you know, she broke her guitar and jumped up and down and broke it into a bunch of pieces and started yelling at the audience. And so, you know, it was this touchy situation for a few minutes. Now, one of the great moments in modern music, as far as I'm concerned, a truly unbelievable moment on the stage.
How was the overall benefit for the school?
It was great.
The school continues to grow and well, at least help the children?
Oh yeah, the whole thing's, we're in our sixth year with the Bridge School.
It's a school for children with cerebral palsy and different related things like cerebral palsy, where these kids can't move their arms and legs and they can't talk, but they can think. So we're trying to develop a classroom program using computers and different software and hardware to enable these kids to be able to communicate on a level that is with their intelligence.
We had a child with cerebral palsy and that was unable to speak, that we had a duty and an opportunity to try to change the world a little bit in that area.
You know a body feels empty with no love inside. A body feels empty with no love at all. I think we're headed for a heartache. That's my suspicion.
Well, I feel like, especially now with Bill Graham not here anymore in person, you know, I feel more of the community, and I feel more like one of a generation that started a huge milestone for us when Bill died, because kind of always felt it would be there, and things would, our original feelings would keep on going. All our concerts were presented with the original feeling that started in the 60s. All the shows here had that about them, and backstage, the way it was set up, the way the show was presented, the care that was taken presenting the shows to the public, and the variety of entertainment and everything that Bill brought to San Francisco and packaged in different ways that were always beautiful things to see, you know, and an enjoyable musical experience, whether it was Sonic Youth or, you know, Public Enemy or whatever it was, you know, or any kind of music that you want to think of. It's just now he's gone, and that tradition you know, hopefully will go on, the tradition that he started. And so I feel closer and more part of the family of music in this area than I did before, just because there's less of us here now. I immediately went to the Grateful Dead concert 2 days later just to see that they were still there and that they were still playing, and to feel them physically myself and to be with them, because, you know, there's very few of us left from that era, and it's important to maintain your contacts with your friends.
So the Neil Young jukebox, if you had a chance to punch an artist up right now, who would it be?
Oh, I'd have to see Roy Orbison now.
Any particular cut, Pretty Woman or something like that?
If you got him doing Crying, I'd like to see that, or Running Scared.
What was it about the Big O that really captures you?
Raw emotion, the real thing.
Was he one of your idols back in Winnipeg?
Yeah. Orbison was my favorite. There's a picture of him on Tonight's the Night. I don't know if you ever noticed that. Tonight's the Night album, there's a guy standing there under a palm tree, inside in this wrap. That's Roy. This picture of Roy. It was taken off an old off a compilation album that was released in Holland that I bought while I was on the road, and I took that Roy Orbison thing, and this picture of him was awesome. So I go back a long time with Roy.
Oh, we've got Crying. Here it is.
Good. Well, I'd like to see Little Richard now.
Roots of Rock and Roll? Tutti Frutti?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, Little Richard, Tutti Frutti, Good Golly Miss Molly, something like that. Or back in there, it'd be nice.
He's a madman. Would you identify with a madman? Well, in his heyday.
He's great. He's still a madman. He's completely outrageous. Little Richard is rock and roll.
Is it great to see the fact that the community is finally paying him back? You know, he's been jumping up on stage saying, you know, I'm it. You know, pay me back.
They're starting to get, they're going to have a Little Richard's rock and roll reunion in January or February next year. And that's going to be a great thing. And
would you like to be there?
Oh yeah, I'll be there.
What cut would you play if you had a choice to play a cut?
Of Little Richard's?
If you had to play
if I could play it myself, Send Me Some Lovin'. But I don't think there's a video of Send Me Some Lovin'. And but that's a great song. You know the one I mean?
No.
That's a great song. I think it's on the other side of Lucille. Lucille, there's a good one too.
All right, from roots rock, where would we go now?
We go now to Hank Williams. And we have to go back to any one of his classics.
There's a tear in my bed.
Hank Williams, you could take any one. Your Cheating Heart. I think there's a video of Your Cheating Heart. I think somewhere on film. And then there's Jimmy Rogers too. There's the CBS film of Jimmy Rogers sitting outside the train station waiting for the train to come, where he's singing with his guitar. It's live, you know, singing, and it's about a 15-minute film. I don't know if you've seen that one, but that's one of the great videos of all time. Jimmy Rogers, that goes even back more into roots than Hank Williams.
Were you a country fan in the beginning?
Always been a country music fan from the very beginning, but not to the exclusion of anything else.
From your own early era, say, let's go 65 to 68, anything there? When you were starting off your band?
Well, you know, Dylan around that time, Dylan was a big influence on me. I like that. I was knocked out. How about Subterranean Homesick Blues from Don't Look Back?
With Allen Ginsberg in the background?
Yeah.
Brilliant video for its time.
Great. And I'm completely ahead of its time. Well, now we'd have to go to Jimi Hendrix. And, you know, I haven't seen that much film of Hendrix. I know there's one where he's just playing with a white background. But I would rather see him playing electric guitar with the original Experience somewhere, and that might be Woodstock, or I don't know if he played with them at Woodstock or not.
We have two, well, we have a few, but...
There's Monterey also.
Yeah. Now, you were at Monterey as well, weren't you?
No, I didn't go to Monterey.
There's a story about you in a stolen pickup truck?
That was Woodstock.
Was that Woodstock? With Hendrix as well at the time?
Melvin Belli and Hendrix.
What was the story there?
Well, we got dropped off at the wrong airport. You know, we flew to Woodstock, and then, but they dropped us off at an airport where we had to steal a truck to get to Woodstock, to the show, which is not too far away. So I think we did that, and that's where we saw Hendrix. He was there at the airport too. He'd gone on the wrong airport.
You used to have a Jimi Hendrix pattern on your guitar strap. Is that still around?
It faded away.
Rust never sleeps, eh?
Well, then we'd have to go to the Rolling Stones. We'd have to go to the early Rolling Stones.
What do you like about them?
Just the roughness of their sound.
Did you ever see them in the early days?
Just film of them. Never saw them live in the early days. I guess I did. I saw them in '66. When Buffalo Springfield played with them at the Hollywood Bowl. I saw them.
That was Mick in his young godlike days.
They were a great band.
Absolutely great. We just got the brand new video from the IMAX movie, actually, and it's a cover of Ruby Tuesday. You want to see that?
Yeah, let's check. Well, no, that's too new.
Okay, you want something else?
No, I want to look at an old one. You look at, you know, like this is what you're talking about is way the other end of the spectrum. It's too big of a jump. It's not, no, I can't make that jump yet.
How about It's All Over Now?
That's good. Good.
One final video choice, what would it be? What can we go out on here?
Brothers in Arms by Dire
Straits.
One of the greatest videos I've ever seen. I love the video. There's a mood to it. There's a mood to the music, and there's a mood to the video.
And the message, of course.
I always thought that was just one of the finest records that, and I always remembered as being a video that I really liked watching. I would always stop and watch it.
Somehow I was put on Earth in extreme circumstances. Everything that's happened to me has been an extreme. I've been an extremist. People call me an extremist. My close friends say that I'm an extremist. You know, I won't do anything, and then when I do it, I do way too much of it, and then when I stop, it's over, and it's like, you know, wait a minute, you know, can't you just...
But the thing about my music is there really is no point. I read reviews and things like that, and you know, sometimes if I get a terrible review, I might be mad for a couple of hours, you know. But I try to forget it. There's so much more to do than to analyze what you've already done and how people feel about you and whether it's cool or not. I mean, that's just such a waste of time. It's all over.